This urban legend tells the story of a woman driving late one night when her car starts running low on gas. Pulling into a station, the attendant fills up the tank. She offers her card to pay, but the attendant, who is now acting strangely, says she must come inside the station to sign. Once they're both inside, he locks and barricades the door behind them. The woman is about to scream when the attendant tells her he could see someone hiding in the back seat of her car. He needed to get her to safety without arousing the man's suspicion. They call the police, and the man turns out to be a serial killer who had intended to make the woman his next victim. The midnight bus story involves a young man boarding bus number 302 at midnight. As he gets on, he notices the only people on board are the driver and an elderly gentleman sat near the middle. The man sits near the back, and at the next stop, 2 more passengers get on. As they sit down near the driver, the old man turns around and accuses the young man at the back of whispering insults at him. A shouting match ensues between the pair, and eventually the bus driver demands they both get off. As they do, the old man suddenly calms down and says, "I just saved your life." He claims that as the 2 new passengers got on board, he could see they were floating above the ground. They were ghosts. The news media reported the next day that bus 302 had disappeared not long after midnight. No trace of it or the driver was ever found. The first recorded encounter with black-eyed kids comes from journalist Brian Bethel in 1996. As the Texas reporter sat in his car, he was approached by 2 boys aged between 9 and 12 years old. As one of the boys asked if he could give them a lift, Brian was overcome with a feeling of utter, unexplainable terror. It was only as the boys drew closer that Brian noticed their eyes were completely black. As he made to drive away, one boy started banging on the car window, saying, "We can't come in unless you tell us it's okay. Let us in." As he sped out of the parking lot, Brian looked in his rearview mirror and saw both the black-eyed kids had disappeared. There had been numerous similar sightings over the years. Always 2 young children, always asking to be let in somewhere, and always with completely black eyes. This Japanese story is based on a samurai's wife, whose mouth was cut from ear to ear by her husband after he discovered her infidelity. It was said the woman was cursed for her crimes, and alleged sightings of her began spreading in Japan during 1979, causing panic in many towns. The modern version of this legend claims the woman targets children, asking them, "Am I pretty?" No matter what answer the child gives, they will be killed. In October 2007, a coroner found some old records from the late 1970s about a woman who was chasing little children. She was then hit by a car and died shortly after. Her mouth was ripped from ear to ear. Although very popular, there are numerous variations on the Bloody Mary urban legend. The most common claims she was a witch who was executed 100 years ago for dabbling in the black arts. A modern version has Mary dying in a car accident, her face horribly disfigured in the crash. Yet the different methods of summoning Bloody Mary always follow similar rules. It involves standing in a bathroom with a lit candle and saying her name in the mirror a number of times. If she appears to you, she will either rip out your eyes, kill you outright with her claws, or drag you into the mirror with her, trapping you for all eternity. There are some variations to this tale, but they always involve a babysitter looking after a family's kids. The story goes that once the sitter has put the kids to bed, she enters the front room to watch TV. As soon as she walks in, she sees a creepy, life-size clown statue in the corner. After a few minutes, she calls the kid's dad to ask if she can move the clown, as it's freaking her out. Without explaining, the father screams at the babysitter to grab the kids and get out of the house. It turns out the family had no such clown statue in their home, and that the kids had recently complained they were being watched at night by a scary clown, something the parents assumed was just their overactive imaginations. In 1940, Russian scientists decided to test the effects of extreme sleep deprivation, sealing 5 people into a small room and exposing them to a gas stimulant to keep them awake. After 11 days of increasingly erratic behavior from the subjects, and with no communications from them for 2 days, the scientists terminated the experiment and entered the room. They found the 5 men had mutilated themselves and each other. The floor was a mess of internal organs and blood, yet the men were still alive and silent. It was only when the stimulant gas was turned off that they started screaming and be turned back on. After attacking the staff with superhuman strength, 2 subjects died from their injuries. Another passed away later from blood loss. The 4th subject died when he fell asleep, despite being stable just beforehand. The last subject, furious at being deprived the gas, grabbed a guard's gun and killed 2 scientists. As one of the researchers drew his own weapon, he asked, "What are you? I must know." The crazed man responded, "Have you forgotten so easily? We are you. We are the madness that lurks within you all, begging to be free at every moment in your deepest animal mind. We are what you hide from in your beds every night. We are what you sedate into silence and paralysis when you go to the nocturnal haven where we cannot tread." The researcher fired his gun into the subject's heart. The last words he uttered were, "So nearly free."